Hey, Hotep, everybody. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. Hey, I want to let those in the Los Angeles area know that I will be in Los Angeles at the end of this year, Saturday, December 30th and Sunday, December 31st, New Year's Eve. I'll be in Los Angeles for the first time ever, in California for the first time ever. And I will be speaking at the Krst Unity Center, doing two presentations there. I'll be their keynote speaker for their Kwanzaa celebration for the 5th day of Kwanzaa, which is Nia, which means purpose, on Saturday, December 30th. The event is 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's a free event, donations accepted. Come on out. And they'll have a candle lighting ceremony as well. And this is 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. There'll be live performances, motivational speakers, and a community dinner. Okay. And this is Black Economics 101 presents Krst Unity Center's Kwanzaa of Abundance. Kwanzaa of Abundance. The Krst Unity Center is located at 7825 Southwestern Avenue. 7825 Southwestern Avenue, Los Angeles, California. All right. And those watching, please share this broadcast on your Facebook page as well. And share this on YouTube also. All right. So my presentation is on what is Kwanzaa, reconnecting African Americans to African culture for self-empowerment in the era of Donald Trump. What is Kwanzaa? Reconnecting African Americans to African culture for self-empowerment in the era of Donald Trump. And we know that a people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past, in the present, and the future to meet the needs of the community, because things happen in cycles. Okay? So that's what I will talk about. And that's the first day, Saturday, December 30th. The second day, New Year's Eve, come back out to the Krst Unity Center of African Spiritual Science, 7825 Southwestern Avenue, Los Angeles, California. New Year's Eve, Sunday, December 31st, 2017. My presentation will be on African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. And some of the things that I deal with in the presentation, once again, the second day, Sunday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, is free event, donations accepted. Come on out, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Some of the things I deal with in the presentation are the similarities in the rise in Donald Trump becoming president and Richard Nixon becoming president. Okay, there was very striking similarities there. One, and circumstances that led to them becoming president, what was going on in the country at the time. We know Richard Nixon was a backlash to the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, things like this. He ran on the platform of law and order. Donald Trump was a backlash to 2 terms of President Barack Obama, the first African-American president, a backlash to the Black Lives Matter movement, different things like this, okay? And also we'll deal with the rampant voter suppression that took place in 2016, because we saw voter suppression take place in Alabama for the special election, special U.S. Senate election that took place December 12th, where Doug Jones won, beat Roy Moore. There was rampant voter suppression that took place there, and voter intimidation as well. Okay, some of you read the article that I wrote about Rose Sanders, and how Rose Sanders, African-American activist in Alabama, how she was an African-American female activist, 72 years old. She was threatened with death for organizing African-Americans to register to vote in 2017. Read my articles at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, so we have that taking place, rampant voter suppression. voter intimidation. It's going to continue in 2018 if we're not careful for the midterm elections, November 6, 2018. And most people don't know there were 868 fewer polling places in the 2016 election. And a lot of people don't know that you have 14 new states that had new voter ID laws in 2016 as well. And then I deal with policies that Trump is constantly reversing, that President Obama had in place. A lot of people don't know these policies existed either. Whether we're dealing with criminal justice, whether we're dealing with education, with the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, redeclaration of the war on drugs, a number of different things, a number of different policy reversals. There have been over 100 policy reversals that have taken place. And these are going to have a detrimental impact on us. Okay. And then I also deal with, I talk about reparations sum and the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866. But I also deal with how we have to stop financing our own dehumanization. And we need to fight back, not just at the ballot box. I'm all for that and voting strategically and pushing an agenda, pushing agendas based upon understanding our history and our circumstances and understanding how issues impact us. But also, we have to stop financing our own dehumanization and withdraw economic support from entities that do us harm. So when we look at the Haitian Revolution and we look at the documentary 1804, The Hidden History of Haiti, which we have available at our website, which deals with the AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, which deals with the history of the Haitian Revolution from director Tariq Nasheed, they won because they engaged in guerrilla warfare. They engaged in guerrilla warfare, where African Americans need to engage in economic guerrilla warfare. Economic guerrilla warfare, okay? And the three main principles of economic guerrilla warfare are redistribute, redirect, and renegotiate. Redistribute, redirect, renegotiate. Redistribute the pain of those inflicting pain upon us through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies. Okay, Dr. King in his last speech, April 3rd, 1968, I've been to the mountaintop. He said, up until now, only the sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee have been feeling the pain. He said, we have to kind of find a way to redistribute the pain. And he told them in Memphis to go out and tell their friends and family to boycott Coca-Cola and Hart's Bread and Wonder Bread and Siltest Milk because of the discriminatory hiring practices. So we have to engage in targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies, number one. That's redistribute the pain. Number two, redirect dollars to African-American owned businesses so we can become the #1 employer of our own people, just like every other ethnic group in America. And then number three, renegotiate our relationship with corporate America, so we can redirect dollars, some of those dollars we spend to them in the forms of contracts, vendor contracts, advertising when it comes to African American on radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, magazines, TV shows, etc. Because these dollars are almost exclusively going to white-owned advertising agencies, white publications, newspapers, magazines, TV networks, things like this. When it comes to vendor contracts, contracts for janitorial services, contracts for security services, catering services, the corporations have billions upon billions of dollars in vending contracts that they give out to various corporations, most of them white. So redistribute, redirect, and renegotiate. We have to engage in economic guerrilla warfare also. So these are some of the things I'll talk about on New Year's Eve, Sunday, December 31st, in Los Angeles, California, at the Krst Unity Center of African Spiritual Science. Krst Unity Center of African Spiritual Science, located at 7825 Southwestern Avenue, Los Angeles, California. It's a free event. Come on out, bring the family. Donations accepted. And also in the presentation, also deal with the origin of the war on drugs, starting with Richard Nixon, June 17, 1971. Remember, Richard Nixon ran on the platform of law and order. So this is a fantastic presentation. Every time I do it, people are blown away by it. If you can't make it, Presentations available on DVD at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's called African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump: Voter Suppression, Reparations, and How Elections Have Consequences. African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump: Voter Suppression, Reparations, and How Elections Have Consequences. And if you want this on digital download, email us through the website AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Email us there, and because I'm putting it in the digital download format, but we have it on DVD. Okay, so 2 days in Los Angeles: Saturday, December 30th, Sunday, December 31st. Same location, Krst Unity Center of African Spiritual Science. And we have this information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right on the homepage, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Same time each day, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So come on out. And I'll have my DVDs. I have a vendor table there. I have my DVDs there if you want to purchase those also to help support the African History Network. Helps me travel from location to location like I'm doing. So I'm paying my way out to Los Angeles as well for this also. Okay. If you want to interview me for your radio show, TV show, what have you, while I'm there in Los Angeles or period, email me at info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you want to email, if you want to interview me for your radio show, TV show, what have you, podcast. What have you, okay? And I should be out there. I think I'll be out in Los Angeles. I'll be out in Los Angeles till like January 3rd, okay? It looks like I'll be out there to January 3rd. Okay, so also, lastly, we know Christmas is coming up, right? We're in the Christmas season. And here's my presentation, Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. So this is a 3-hour presentation that deals with the history of Christmas, going back to, we do some on Ancient Kemet and the Winter Solstice. Winter Solstice is usually December 20th or December 21st. So the Winter Solstice just passed December 21st, when that's the shortest day of the year. The sun is in its lowest point of the year, and we know from December 22nd, 23rd, 24th, it appears that the sun does not move. It appears that the sun is dead and hung on the cross, because the sun moves into the constellation of the Southern Crux, and crux is Latin for cross. Google Southern Crux, C-R-U-X. Crux is Latin for cross. And it was said in ancient times that the Son of God, not the S-O-N, but the S-U-N, was hung on the cross and dead for 3 days. And then on December 25th, we know that the sun moves 1 degree northward, and December 25th marks an increase in the amount of sunlight. In each subsequent day, there's more and more sunlight. So in ancient times, December 25th was known as the rebirth of the Son of God, or the birthday of the Son of God. So you have astrotheology put into allegorical form, then taught us literal history. So this presentation here, Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas, I deal with that whole history. This is a 3-hour presentation. We have it on DVD and digital download at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So you have family members over tomorrow, or you have family members over for Christmas, for the holidays. This is something good to show them. This is something good to show them. We'll post a link here on the thread of the broadcast. This is the link here for the digital download. You can, if you want to order that, it's on the digital download is only $10. You can start watching it now. You can download it, and we also have it on DVDs. So on 2 DVDs, is a 3-hour presentation. It's a lot of research because I've been studying the history of Christmas for about 7 years now. So this is that presentation. I did that December 17th, 2016. So that's about 6 years of research. But some of the things I deal with in the presentation are the historical origins of Christmas, going back to the pre-Christian era. To understand the existence of something, you first have to understand the pre-existence of existence. So I deal with the historical origins of Christmas going back to the pre-Christian era, looking at the ancient winter festivals celebrated among Europeans, like the festival of Saturnalia amongst the Romans, the festival of Mithra amongst the Persians, the festival of Yule, Y-U-L-E. This is where Yule tide comes from. This is an old ancient European festival. And most of these festivals took place around the winter solstice, around December 21st. I deal with the influence from various cultures, mythology, religion, literature, and astronomy that form the celebration that today we know as Christmas. And do we really know what we're celebrating? Those who celebrate Christmas, you really know what you're celebrating. And Dr. Shakamusa Barashango, in his books, African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide, book 1 and book 2, dealt some with some of the history of Christmas. And one of the things I deal with is why is Christmas celebrated on December 25th? There's nowhere in the biblical text does it state that Christmas is celebrated on December 25th, or that Jesus the Christ was born on December 25th. This may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness, okay? It doesn't mean that it's not true, it just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about. Nowhere in the biblical text does it mention the celebration of Christmas in the biblical text, because the word Christmas comes from Christus Mass, which that came about 11th century AD, around 1050 AD. I deal with what determines when Easter is celebrated, because Easter and Christmas are both, when they're celebrated, are both based upon astronomy. Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday, following the first full moon, following the vernal equinox. Deal with the origins of Santa Claus. We know Santa Claus, the mythological character Santa Claus, comes from Sinterklaas, okay, which means Saint Nicholas. And that was a religious figure coming out of Holland, coming from the Dutch. And the Dutch are going to introduce that into America in about the 18th century. I deal with how does astronomy play a role in the celebrations of Christmas as well as Easter? Where do the symbols of Christmas come from? The origins of Joata Piet, Black Peter, or Black Pete, Joata Piet, who was depicted as a Moor in blackface, afro wig, gold hoop earrings, who was the sidekick of Sinterklaas, okay, Saint Nicholas. And we know that Saint Nicholas was a real saint who was actually an African saint. The oldest paintings of Saint Nicholas depict him as an African. But we also know that many of the early African saints, many of the early Christian saints were Africans as well. I deal with what caused the popularity of gift giving, because traditionally gifts were not exchanged between family members during Christmas. Also deal with the origins of the 7 days of the week, which ties into a lot of Scandinavian mythology, the origins of the 7 days of the week. Like Thursday was known as Thor's Day. Thor, the god of thunder, copy of Shango, okay, the Orisha of thunder, coming from the Yoruba spiritual system of Ifa. When you study the origins of a lot of the days of the week, they tie into Scandinavian mythology. Okay, so these are just some of the things I deal with in the presentation: Ancient Kemet, the winter solstice, and the history of Christmas. All right, so that's available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and it's also available on digital download as well. And we'll post a link here. That's for the DVD. Digital download's only $10, so you can start watching that now. If you have family members over for the holidays and you want to show them something they haven't seen before, you can show them this digital download. It's going to blow them away. And all my presentations are thoroughly documented, as most people know who've seen it before. They're thoroughly documented, give you numerous sources to document what I'm talking about. I tell people you don't have to believe a word that I say. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Go do your own research. All right, so I look forward to seeing the Atlanta family. I'll be in Atlanta on Friday. Got to fly from Atlanta to Los Angeles. I'm in Atlanta on Friday, Shrine of the Black Madonna, screening of Black Friday Part 2, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Shrine of the Black Madonna. But I'll be in Los Angeles Saturday, December 30th, Sunday, December 31st. Look forward to seeing the Los Angeles family for my first time in Los Angeles. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. Remember, right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Talk to you next time. Peace.